Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Andy.
A little delayed, so we should talk. Is Gary in town?
No, he's in Cincinnati. That's what he just called. Get the logistics.
Then we can spread out that period.
Kat, is this your involved?
Yes.
But I'm.
He's still on.
I guess we can't spread it. Ted, darling, are you coming? I worked with a guy named Dave. And we'd all be in meetings, you're like, okay, who's going to build this thing? Dave always needed a first stage.
Hourglass.
You're up and rolling. Is that right? Yeah.
We are up and rolling.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, we're right.
Welcome. Thanks for coming. We're still 5 minutes out. We have finally, third time's a charm, succeeded in getting the technology figured out on time and things like that. So we're actually ahead of time, which is the preferred method. So we'll wait just a few minutes.
Weird, I'm seeing double.
All right, Al? Yeah, I know. But
It's his evil
it's
twin.
better than seeing nothing.
We have an ophthalmologist coming in shortly.
We're service oriented, anything to help our membership.
Well, where do you live?
Well, of course,
Lover's
Lane.
And how about you?
Stony Creek.
Stony Creek.
Governor's residence.
Very good. Excellent. Oh, good dispersion around the community. That's good. Oh, we have one, yeah, we're all here. Gary's on Zoom, so we are all present and accounted for.
We're handing out the Sequence POA Best Dressed Award to Bill today, because he wore it.
You did, that's good.
Can you make that official? I mean,
I don't have that authority.
you don't?
I don't.
Did you see the?
I did.
You're gonna, unless it's okay. Or you'll surprise it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and
Let me know.
30 hours later, I arrived back here.
You want to be close.
It's got 46 days. Buzzword.
No, I don't know.
Red.
Like to hear
But
things a little bit.
She's coming this way. I'm following.
Hi, Bill. Thanks for coming closer.
He can hear.
Good to be able to hear what people are saying.
Well, it's
Well,
nice
that's it.
to
That is important.
see the whites of your eyes.
Better not to go there.
What do we? I left my coffee in the car.
No problem.
Ready to know it.
Thank you, Kathleen.
So.
2 minutes. Stay 2 minutes.
Set up in writing.
Or they.
No.
I had a couple people.
I went up right
And I know because Gary. I got a couple people ready. They joined us.
Got it.
Getting the-
I'll tell you about what Ray is.
So I said.
At the end of the day.
We're at the meeting.
That's right. It's a good thing.
There's zero way. That would be responsive to our phone call anyway. So that would be a nice
Good.
conversion of thought.
But we're here, we just. There for letter and another FCA 200 for the real estate people. I'm gonna be at the later. We do this, we do. Yeah, I don't know.
1 minute warning.
Really smart. Yeah, yeah, I immediately locate. So they come down.
Way to go, the fire department.
Now you're all sweaty.
Well, that was a good confluence of Lee getting his coffee and reaching 10 o'clock, so. So I'll call the meeting, the Sea Pines POA Board of Directors meeting for March 27th, 2024 to order. Ms. Wellinghoff, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mr. President, we do.
Very good.
Oh, I now move to ratify the Board of Directors meeting minutes from February 28th, our last meeting. Can I get a motion to do so?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. So moved.
All right, very good. Thank you. I've got one of our board members, Gary, on Zoom. The way that, at least currently, and it's under discussion as to how to migrate to a two-way communication. We're not there yet. So Gary is texting me when things come up for votes so I can get his vote recorded or at least understand what he wants to do via phone. So the president's report, we have a few things to report since our last board meeting. I would highlight it by saying is that I guess third time is a charm. When we decided to go back to in-person meetings and continue the live streaming and try to accommodate all of it at once, we had a couple different glitches, one in January and one in February. I won't bore you with those. Some of you may have tried to join the live stream and got frustrated, so apologize for that. But as you can see behind me, and as I'm getting texts from people, it's working and everyone's happy, and so third time's a charm. But when you go away from it for a few years, a couple, 3 years because of the COVID, we kind of forgot some of the processes that were in place to make it happen. So anyway, now we're up and going. The first thing I would tell you is this Sea Pines POA board, as we reported in January, has 5 focus areas, and you can find those on our website. We have approximately 20 work groups or work streams in support of those 5 focus areas. Some are more active than others at any point in time because of the need to, time-wise do something. I would request again, if anybody is out there looking at the live stream or in the audience, or later on, if you pick up the live stream in the meeting and look at it, if you have an interest in getting more actively involved in the Sea Pines POA in one of these 20 work streams, just send an email to info@seapinespoa.com and we will latch onto you and figure out where to plug you in to help us. We are an all volunteer organization. We have no staff, and so our ability to accomplish our goals in the work streams sometimes is dependent on more helping hands. I'm going to defer my comments on my presentation to the town's public policy committee of the survey results until after Laura's had a chance to share those with you all. Then I'll jump back in on that point. And the last thing that I have on the president's report, the annual meeting notice went out via email yesterday for all of those where we had email addresses. And it went out in paper to those individuals where we do not have a valid email address. The sent them out this week. So they are out there. The annual meeting is on April 24 at 3 p.m. at the Magnolia Room at the Plantation Club. So it's inside the gates. Should be convenient to everybody. Two things, we do have a meeting room limit of 150. So if you have an interest, I'd recommend you sign up sooner rather than later. We will maintain a wait list. We also have a requirement for a 20% quorum by proxy or in person of our membership to conduct an annual meeting. And both the mail and the email notifications do have ways to submit a proxy. So I would encourage anyone to do that so that we can actually conduct the annual meeting. So that's my present report.
Don't you want to tell them the fun part?
What fun part is that? Go ahead and tell them.
Okay, after the meeting, on or about 4 o'clock, the bar opens and we will have wine, beer, alcohol, soft drinks, and light bites. And that will go on for 2 hours, where we can enjoy the Plantation Club, the view, the food, and that is all compliments of your membership dues. So please come and have a little revelry with us. That'll be nice.
Very good.
Thank you.
Good add-on.
Oh, thanks.
Larry, financial report. What have you got on the agenda here for us?
The only thing I can report is, current balance in our checking account is 137,000. And, I'll have a full financial report at the annual meeting for last year, and then I'll also be able to update so far this year.
Yes, because we'll have first quarter for
That first
24.
quarter.
Yeah.
We get our financial, information quarterly, basically.
Good, good. Thank you. Lisa, anything from your perspective?
Yes, to jump on to the annual meeting again, will be held at the Sea Pines Plantation Club in the Magnolia Room. If you plan to attend in person, please send an email to info@seapinespoa.com to let us know you will be attending. And please be sure to include your property address and number of attendees.
Yes.
Notice of the annual meeting was mailed to all members, as Keith said, yesterday, March 26th, to all 346 members who have already gone into the website to cast the proxy. If you have not already, please check your inbox for your unique authenticated link. The invitation came from support@easyvoteonline.com. And if it is not in your inbox, please be sure to check your spam/junk folder. If you're having trouble finding your link to the proxy, please email us at info@seapinespoa.com. Those members without an email address on file should be receiving the notice of the annual meeting by mail in the next coming days.
Good, thank you. Some good additional details to my comments. So with that, some of the 20 work groups that I mentioned will be reporting down below here. The first one on the agenda, probably our number one work group priority this year, Gary, is the integrated member management application. So why don't you give us an update on where you are on that?
Thank you, Keith. After about 6 months of due diligence process and looking for applications that can support member management and some of the other workflow processes that we're looking to improve upon, we have selected a company called Member Leap. We met an executive committee this morning, and based upon our task force recommendation, the executive committee for me to go ahead and sign the service agreement with this organization. And we will look forward to beginning implementation of this new application in April. And so we're looking forward to being able to expand our ability to communicate with all of our property owners, not just our member property owners, but our non-member property owners, because we think that's probably the number one priority. At least it's been my number one priority for this organization for a number of years, is to better outreach and to expand the way that we communicate and the community or your property owner association.
Yep. I would say a couple comments that I would add on is, first and foremost, if you haven't done so in a while, go back and look at your member record in the current Sea Pines POA directory. And if there's any changes that you would like to have made to that, You can email those to info@cpinespoa.com, and we can get those made in the directory, because one of the first things that's going to happen is we need to take our membership roster in our current customized database and migrate it to Member Leap. And so we would like to have the information as accurate as possible, so that we can have the good stuff when we migrate. I would encourage everyone, again, if you don't have a email address on file, please do so, because the functionality of the new system, Member Leap, will be driven significantly by a valid email address attached to your account. And as things roll out, we can provide more information, and we'll provide more information about the security of your information, including, mobile phone numbers and email addresses and things like that. And interestingly enough, in the new system, your ability to provide the information for use by the POA, but yet have it excluded from the directory if you don't want it more publicly shared. But we'll continue to talk about this topic as we go through the implementation period through the summer. You want to talk about the
Do you
go
mind
live?
if I tell people how to find, maybe not everybody even knows. If you go to the Sea Pines POA website, you have to log in, that's in the top right corner. And then you will see in the top left corner, the directory. And then you go into the directory and search yourself, which is self-explanatory at that point, but you won't see directory on the home screen until you've logged in, and then it'll be top left.
Okay,
I was gonna say,
clarifying point.
one of the things that is key in this the new application is, as Keith was mentioning, is the ability to opt in and opt out. While we will need your email address to communicate with you, if you in the directory don't want a fellow property owner member to be able to view your information, you can just simply check opt out for public and no one would be able to see it. And the other thing I want to emphasize is that while we have email addresses, we will never sell email addresses or cell phone numbers to any commercial organization. It's in our system, it's in our system. We don't use it for third party, to sell to third parties to make any type of money off of. So
You don't make money.
we don't make any money off of that. We just want you to know it's secure within, the database, behind a firewall, and it's not used for anything other than emailing to our members.
Okay. All right, I'm going to pause a moment, because the monitoring third-party activities, it falls under Gary's report. He was going to call me because, we don't have, at least a present two-way. So see if I can get Gary here to give me a call.
Gary.
Here he is, very good. Hello, Gary, how are you? Gary?
Yes, can you hear me, Keith?
I can. I'm gonna put my, can you put that right there? Go ahead, Gary.
Well, I'm responsible for one of our subgroups, which is monitoring third-party activities. There hasn't been a lot going on. A couple of things, though. You probably saw CSA President David Ellis's note to property owners on March 19th, advising that the Beaufort County Council is considering placing a transportation sales and use tax referendum on the November 2024 ballot. This would ask the electorate to approve a 1% sales tax beginning next year, lasting 15 years. It involves no increase in the overall taxes that will be incurred. And the importance of this is that the funds from this tax, transportation sales and use tax, would directly impact Sea Pines and nearby areas, which could include potentially $60 million in revenue for work on the Sea Pine Circle and surrounding areas and traffic issues. He and CSA had encouraged folks to reach out to our council representative, Tom Wrights, to speak to him about that and to offer support. And we would like to similarly make that recommendation to our membership. The second kind of third-party activity that was going on, we got wind of from a property management company nearby, is that since about late 2022 and through much of 23, there's been a bill in the South Carolina House. It's Bill H-3180, which is in committee and has been in committee for a period of time, but it's a bill to amend certain South Carolina foreclosure statutes, and specifically provisions that exempt certain property from foreclosure. And as it potentially concerns some of our property owners, what this says is that proposed bill says is that homeowners associations may not foreclose on property used as a primary residence to collect unpaid dues, fees, and fines. Now, it does still allow homeowners associations to place liens on property and encumber property to collect for those sorts of things when the property is sold. And homeowners associations can still pursue other legal actions against their members, but they cannot foreclose on primary residences for mere failure to pay unpaid dues, fees, or fines. This kind of has come about, as I understand it, looking at the legislative history, because some homeowners associations, at least of what's being reported, may have been too aggressive in seeking foreclosure for relatively small amounts that were due, and against the property that may have had a much, much larger value. And there have been some cases that had come down in the South Carolina Supreme Court addressing such issues. So, as it relates to us and folks here, it really will only apply to property owners or homeowners association where there's compulsory membership in the association and mandatory assessments, where you have to be a member and you have to pay certain assessments. So it does not apply to the Sea Pines POA because our membership is voluntary, and payment is of the $50 dues is not compulsory. But it may apply to other potential POAs in Sea Pines, and so who may have compulsory membership and may have mandatory assessments. And so, we're alerting those the POA community that this is kind of being talked about in case anybody wants to get involved or voice an opinion or speak to anybody on the committee about how it may impact their property. So again, the bill is House Bill 3180. If anybody wants to reach out on it to find out more information, they can call anybody on the House Banking and Consumer Affairs Committee or our House representative. But it's still in the committee stage, and it's not close to becoming law just yet.
Okay. Larry, you grab that thing. Thank you, Gary. I'm gonna hang up so I don't get feedback, double feedback here. So a couple of supplemental comments. One of our 5 areas of focus is to monitoring third-party activities and then determine how that may or may not impact residential property owners in Sea Pines. And then we have, in our view, a couple obligations. One of them is to make sure our membership knows what is going on. That's the purpose of Gary's report on these 2 items. The second thing that we do sometimes is we reach out for feedback, and Laura's going to report in a minute on a case where we wanted to reach out for feedback on a specific issue. Both of the issues that Gary talked about, just to make sure, I'll reiterate a couple things. On the 1%, sales tax issue, and then this House Bill 3180 that has to do with potential, changes to, the authority of a POA to foreclose. The Sea Pines POA board is not taking a position on either of these. Our area of focus, as Gary said, is if you have a point of view on these, because the sales tax is a very personal issue. If you have a point of view, as he said, reach out to your, in this case, county commission representative that oversees Sea Pines and express your point of view. And secondarily, on the item of the rights or the changes in the South Carolina 2018 law dealing with POAs, it is a modification of that law. It doesn't impact us, but we still felt it important enough that we sent a notification to the approximately 60 neighborhood POAs to make sure they were aware of it. It doesn't impact some of them, but it does impact others. And then I also sent an email myself to CSA, to the board chair and Sam Bennett, again, telling them you're probably already aware of this, but just in case, because it will impact CSA. And on that one, I did get an email back that yes, they were aware of it, and were, monitoring the situation. So just clarification, that's kind of how we view our role here, is just to make sure that the information is disseminated as quickly as possible. Again, hint, hint, email. And that in some cases where we think it's important for your voice to be heard, we will reach out in a different way. And that's a good segue then to the member survey results. So Laura, why don't you take that?
Okay, thanks, Keith. In late February, we sent a letter to all of our Sea Pines POA members explaining what was being considered by the town of Hilton Head for short-term rental occupancy limits. And we followed that with a survey that was mailed on March 1st. We had
Email.
1,062.
Email.
I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. We had 1,062 responses to our survey. And interestingly enough, the first question was, before now, did you know the town was considering occupancy rules for short-term rentals? 57% of the people who responded said yes, that they did have notice of that. 42% said no, that they had no prior knowledge of that. Then we offered the limits that have been discussed by the town planning committee, and we had 40% who agreed that the limit by rental size and number of bedrooms deciding the maximum space for parking. 31% said the limit by parking and by rental size, example, one person per every 250 square feet. There were 14% that said to continue without any limits. 12% said the limit based on parking, example, a rental could house up to 12 people if it had 3 legal parking spaces. We asked then, how do you use your Sea Pines property? And 41% said that it was their primary home. 28% said part-time home, and they do not rent. 25% said part-time home, and they do rent. And 4% said that it was an investment property. We also asked for comments. Keith shared all the comments and all the results of the survey with the town. They deferred their meeting until May, when this will be discussed, and we'll continue to be in touch with the town.
Good, thank you, Laura. A couple of supplemental comments on the survey. It was a two-step process from the POA's perspective. One, we sent an email first with alerting our members to the issue, providing links to the information posted on the town council website under the public policy committee, so that if someone was interested, they could go look at it to educate themselves on the issue. And then we followed up a week later with a survey. A couple things that I want to emphasize. Again, the Sea Pines POA is a board and an organization, does not take a position on this. Because we know, again, it's with the membership we have of 3,000-ish, there's opinions on all sides of this, but we felt it was important that the members be heard and you have the opportunity to express your point of view, particularly because the topic has been talked about at the town public policy committee for a while. And they adjourned or deferred, tabled, finding the right words in the governmental side, the issue from February when they were talking about it again until a later meeting because they wanted feedback. And that's what triggered us to say, okay, we'll give them feedback. Having over, 1,060 responses is, to me, a representative sample size for the 5,500-ish residential property owners that live inside the gates. It's a pretty good response rate. From a response rate of who we had emails for in our membership, it was over 35% response rate, to give you some idea, is to touching a nerve. I went to the March 14th Public Policy Committee meeting at the town and presented several things, including the results of the survey itself. I found, frankly, that they were extraordinarily receptive to it. They actually allowed me and wanted me to go past the designated time period as a speaker to answer questions for them. Again, the Sea Pines POA took no position on this, and I made that perfectly clear. I answered their questions. We didn't edit the data except for removing self-identifiers of the respondents, so that no names or emails or anything was provided. We also formatted the Excel spreadsheet with the comments a little bit to make it more readable, but other than that, we did not edit the results whatsoever. As I said, very interested. They wanted to make sure that our responses were provided to all the public policy committee members, who are 4 of the 7 town council members, to give you an idea. So it's a majority of the town council are members of the public policy committee. As Laura said, they deferred the topic. They will take it up again at their May meeting, which is May 9th, 10 a.m. at the town hall. And the public is welcome. There's probably 25, 30 people there at the public policy committee meeting I was at. And before that, if you don't want to go to the meeting, or if you're a non-resident property owner, but want to comment on this, I would reach out to our town council rep, who is Steve Alfred. If you go to the Town of Hilton Head website, all his contact information is on there. And just feel free to reach out to Steve and provide any individual feedback that you care to provide. So it's a lot of conversation.
Point of clarification.
So Lee, what hat are you wearing? Why don't you describe the 2 hats you wear with respect to?
I had nothing, I just wanted to clarify that it's a public planning committee, in case people go to look, it's not public policy.
I'm sorry,
So
thank
if
you
you go
very
to look on the website for the meeting, you'll find it under public planning.
okay, very good.
And I will add that if you refer back to the newsletter you received by email on March 13th, you will see the chart that Laura reviewed the results. It lays it out for you, so you can see how all of the people who voted by email, all of our members who voted by email, how they responded. It lays out nicely. That's a March 13th email entitled, corrected March 2024 newsletter. We made a boo-boo the first time we sent it out, my boo-boo. Send it out again.
Well, I feel compelled now, I'm sorry, because I was chiding Lee a little bit. Lee is obviously a board member of the Sea Pines POA. He's also president of the Greenwood Forest POA. So that's why I was kind of asking him what hat he wears, because he has interest in the capacities and the roles he plays. So that was my only little prod there. Lori, membership activities.
Okay. Some good news. We sent out our final reminder 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Our membership, since sending that out, has gone up 215. I believe those are going to be mostly renewals because that's what we targeted with the letter and the email. So we're currently at 2,665. The final step in the membership drive that we put together in December was to have a welcome to new property owners package. And Laura and I have been working on that. At this point, the letter is developed and the insert, which will go in with the letter, which is going to be a card about this size. On the front of the card, it's going to explain the different organizations you will be asked to join if you are moving into Sea Pines. So it'll list CSA, the Sea Pines POA, Property Owners Association, and whether or not those are voluntary or mandatory. Because there's a lot of confusion. You can be asked to join up to 4 different organizations when you move in. So we're hoping that that will help explain it. It also includes the ARB for people who aren't familiar with that. And then on the back of the card, it has the benefits you have as a property owner in Sea Pines. And as Laura and I started through this, it's a long list. It's really impressive, the things that you have just by living in this community. So that with the contact information will be included on the back, and then a few important phone numbers that you might need. We're ready to send this for approval on to Keith and then get a quote to print. It was also an idea a couple of years ago that we'd like to try out to give this card also to Sea Pines Real Estate as kind of a beta test to see if real estate agents would find this helpful in selling to people who come into Sea Pines. And we will give them each a small amount and see how they use it and to see whether we need to continue to provide that or to provide it outside of Sea Pines Real Estate too. So that is basically where we stand on membership.
I like examples, and so here is an example of a work group if someone wants to join it because it speaks to them. This new neighbor welcome kit, or whatever the final name is going to be, I'll use it to start it that way, is a work in process. Lori and Laura have spent a lot of time in developing this, but it always pays to have additional thoughts and ideas. And it's really just a starting point. We haven't done this much historically, but we see a need for it from our perspective to be able to early and actively recruit new people who come into our community. And some of the other things that this group I know is thinking about is whether or not we do welcome receptions for new homeowners at a place or at someone's home, or just a lot of different ways to engage people when they first move here. If you think back to when you moved, and for me, I'm from 2009. It's how confusing it frankly was in getting all these solicitations from all these different groups and how do they fit together and things like that. So if you want to help volunteer and work in that area, info at seapinespoa.com and we can get you connected. Communications.
Hi. I just want to tell you that the next speaker series event date has been changed. Please don't come here on the wrong day. The date was Tuesday, April 16th. We changed it because, you know, that's Heritage Week. And even though our speaker series is the 3rd Tuesday of every month, we felt that we should get out of Heritage's way. So The new date is Tuesday, April 23rd, Tuesday, April 23rd. We also have a speaker change. I'm excited to share that the April 23rd event will feature Lee Edwards of The Greenery. For those of you who don't know, The Greenery celebrated its 50th year in business just this past year. They are in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida, but they are founded here on Hilton Head by Sea Pines family, and the whole family all live in Sea Pines. Anyway, this is going to be a very special event as we are going to be kicking off the Sea Pines POA's educational campaign regarding the future of landscape equipment and transitioning from gas-powered equipment to battery-powered electric equipment. At the presentation on April 23rd, you will learn why the time has now come to make this change for a quieter, cleaner, and greener future. In addition to learning about what's to come, we will discuss the timing of this transition, and our Q&A session will include equipment demonstrations in the parking lot. You will be able to see and feel the future for yourself. Moving away from loud, polluting, dangerous gas-powered landscape equipment is exactly what Charles Fraser would do to improve the quality of life in Sea Pines for all of us and for all of the creatures that make our little corner of this world so magical. The speaker series event is in the main sanctuary at Providence Presbyterian here, 171 Cordillo Parkway. In order to RSVP for the speaker series, please go to seapinespoa.com. That's our website, seapinespoa.com. And on the landing page, on the left, you will see the April 23rd speaker series event and the RSVP link. I do believe, someone correct me, I think you have to be logged in to see that.
I don't know.
Well, if you have any questions, you can email us at info@seapinespoa.com. But this is going to be a really great interactive speaker series. Tell your friends. Can we take a question?
Sure.
I would love to be there, but I won't be able to be there. I can't remember. Do you guys tape those speakers and then post them?
We do tape them, and we are about to be posting them. So we're going to be posting our entire year. The only thing is we won't be videotaping what happens outside.
Right, that's
Right.
fine. Or do you write up a summary of
Oh.
what's discussed and then send it out?
You betcha.
Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna have a one-sheeter, and then we're also going to tell you, what we think, the timing and future should look like. So
Thank you.
there will be a lot of information.
So I'm going to interject, and as I sometimes do, I pull my good friend Lori
Down,
back
Lori,
a little bit.
down.
I mean, to be clear, these are only proposals. These are only in the investigation phase of the process. And Lori has done a great deal of work around this, is quite passionate about it. So a lot of the things going on now is educational to residents inside the gates at Sea Pines as to the changes in the technology, et cetera, what it would mean, getting feedback about thoughts about timing and that. And nothing is set in stone yet, is what I want to say. It's just a process the community is going through to investigate. This is a potential. And we're not the first. We are not trailblazers around the country. The question on the table, are we fast followers, or are we more even measured than that? And that's what needs to be discussed in our community. So, ARB, Lee.
Yeah, thanks. So in addition to the hats that Keith already alluded to, I also am the Sea Pines Property Owners member of the ARB.
So he's a busy guy.
And the ARB produces a report monthly, so we're still in March, so the most recent report I have is February. And as of February, actually, the number of new single-family residences is down considerably earlier years, only 2 so far this year. But additions and alterations are up considerably. We've reviewed 18 major additions and alterations and 200 minor additions and alterations, as well as 6 new swimming pools that were reviewed so far this year. That's the major work we've done. We meet every Tuesday. For those of you that don't know, the ARB meets every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Anybody who has anything to be submitted to the ARB for review needs to be in the previous Thursday by noon to be on the following week's agenda. And all of the forms are available both online or at the ARB office for anybody that has a need to bring something to the ARB. And remember that any alteration, including roofs, painting, anything to the exterior of your building requires ARB.
Okay. All right, I will come back to you, but it just occurred to me, and we probably shouldn't have allowed the first one. The Q&A is after, we need to conclude the meeting, otherwise it becomes incorporated as part of the minutes, and that's probably not what we want to do. So we will conclude the meeting. I will come back to you first, when we get to Q&A. Any unfinished business from the group? I do have one piece of new business. As part of the whole process of migrating to this integrated member management application, we are reviewing and revisiting all of the processes that we have as a organization. And a lot of the reason of migrating to the new system is that incorporates many things that we already have, but are separate applications, and it's getting very unwieldy. So at the same time, we're looking at everything else that's not included in this new application and just looking at it fresh. So one of the things has to do with banking relationships. And because we don't have another formal board meeting until May, and banks are quite strict in needing board resolutions to establish banking relationships and open accounts and things like that, if we choose to change, I'm going to offer in resolution as new business the following. And Lisa, I'll give you a copy of this later so you don't have to worry about typing it correctly. Resolved that the Board of ASPO, DBA Sea Pines POA, does hereby authorize Larry Holdren, Treasurer, with the consent of the Executive Committee, to establish a banking relationship and open such operating accounts as he deems in the best interest of ASPO, DBA Sea Pines POA, close quote. So I will enter that in as a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Lori seconded. Any comments or questions? Further clarifications from the group? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Gary said yes. All right, so that is passed. Any other new business? All right, I would take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So
All right, all those in favor?
we're not,
Just a
we're not,
minute.
and we're just ending this.
We're just ending the meeting.
Yeah.
All right, so the meeting is concluded itself, and now, rather than take some break, we're kind of done with the meeting now. We'll keep the live stream going. And for people on the live stream, if you have a question, just email it to that infamous address, info@seapinespoa.com, and your question will come in. We have someone monitoring it so that we will get your question and answer it. First, though, is
Jane Murray.
Jane Murray. Thank you, Jane.
I merely wanted clarification, what is the ARB?
Oh, there you go.
When you talk, when.
I know,
when you
I
speak
acronyms,
in
yeah.
acronyms, some of us are a little lost, at least the first time around.
That is a
But I
fair
think that
question.
is Architectural and
Architectural
Review Board, all right, thank you.
No, very good. It's, I don't know if you want to talk supplementally, just for a second, Leon, how the ARB fits into our community, because it's, again, rather unique.
Yeah, the ARB is a separate, it's a standing board of the Architectural Review Corporation, which is a separate entity from both the Sea Pines Property Owners Association and CSA. It's a standing separate corporation that's responsible for the review and approval of all architecture both residential and commercial within the gates of Seaplains.
Okay, thanks, Lee. Yes, sir, now.
Yeah, I'm, concerned with the noise level that these pickleball courts at South Beach are causing.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're playing till 10 PM in the evening, okay? And for people who live in the area or renting their community or renting their home, you know, we propose to them that they cut off at 8 PM, only two of the courts. Okay, they keep the rest of the courts going, but the ones closest to the homes.
Mm-hmm.
And reduce their lighting over there from 10 to 8. We've also asked them to, there's paths that go on the fences that will reduce the noise level. And so far, they've ignored us.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you can suggest or do to help us out?
So our community has an interesting structure. And I'll segue off Lee's comment. If any of you belong to HOA or POA, homeowners associations, a property owner association, in any other environment, usually what you find is that all of the activities regarding common property, maintenance, regulation of it, et cetera, the architectural review, all of that is housed in one legal entity. This is important because in Sea Pines, we are an outlier. We have 3 separate and distinct organizations that take pieces of this. CSA owns the common properties and maintains them. The ARB has the responsibility for the architectural review. The Sea Pines POA acts as a voice or represents residential property owners. I needed to get that out of the way because to answer your question, it's complicated. The pickleball courts, I believe, are commercially owned. And therefore don't fall under, I don't think, any of the particular rules of the CSA or the ARB or certainly in our situation, our rules. So having said that, I meet, others on the board meet with these other organizations periodically, and we bring forward issues that are raised by our membership. And that's the extent of what we can do. So we will do that. We will take this under advisement. And the next time we have an occasion to communicate concerns of our members and our residents, we will do that. That one in particular, I just to be clear, is particularly thorny because even CSA doesn't have a mechanism, I don't think, and you can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, in remedying this specific issue that you bring up. Go ahead.
There must be something around nuisance rules, because if there were no rules on commercial properties, then people, CSA could throw Sea Pines Resort could throw a wedding reception that went till 2 a.m. and was incredibly loud. And I think we are governed by noise nuisance thing, and I would imagine the segments own that. That would seem the avenue. I mean, and Lee, you were involved. There was this big thing on land use regulations and nuisance and the whole gas versus battery, that deals with 50-foot distances and stuff. So my sense is, nothing's easy, as we all know, but it's really around the nuisance side and trying to come up with something that's reasonable, and that seems reasonable for, us collectively to try and figure out how to solve. That was my first, when I saw those things built, whoa, the neighbors might argue.
Would it be helpful, though, if we knew that there were multiple neighbors, if there was some way where you?
I'm representing the association.
Okay.
Beachside properties.
Beachside properties, okay.
Beachside properties, that's an association.
Beachside drive, yeah.
Beachside Drive?
Yeah.
That's, and how many properties is that?
14.
14.
Very good.
And you're the
I'm
HOA president?
Okay.
Great, thank you.
One thing I would add to that is, in addition to, I do think that there are CSA rules that can apply. There's certainly town rules on noise. So the town does have the right to execute within the gates.
Yeah, so we had the state police out one time to shut it down because the noise level was too high, but why? I wanna work something out with them, that's reasonable. I don't wanna put them out of business, I want, you know, they need to survive and prosper. And I think what our requests are, you know, we're only asking for 2 hours less of a few courts, and that they put the pads up to bridge the noise.
What time do they close the courts at this point?
10 PM. And they're bringing, the people there are playing, enjoying themselves, and they're bringing in boom boxes and stuff like that, and playing loud at night.
Oh, my
So-
God.
be annoying.
All right, I think we,
Yeah.
We-
some
we
people
understand.
want- People said, no, we want out of it.
so we appreciate you bringing that. I think that's, has made some good clarifying points as well as Lee. We'll take this under advisement a bit and try to figure out, first off, who has the applicable rules and what they are. And then we'll be able to have a better idea then as to the path forward. So, but thanks for that. Yeah.
I haven't had a look at our balance sheet, but, as mentioned, we have a very substantial amount of cash. Does our treasurer have the ability to open an account with a brokerage firm, to take advantage of the high interest rates on the money market fund these days, like the 5.5% that you can get?
We
Larry?
do, we do, and we do have a brokerage firm that we use, for some of the money. That, what I reported to you was just what was in our checking. And we are looking at probably setting up a money market account for a good part of this, because we don't need to have that much in checking.
Yeah, and with money market, with Fidelity or Vanguard, you have check writing privileges even on the money market.
Right.
Good, glad to hear that.
Yeah, we do have investment accounts at Morgan Stanley. We do have a financial policy that was approved a couple, 3 years ago that specifies how much, of our cash needs to be in ready reserve, for use in operations. And that's the amount that Larry's talking about. But even then, to your point, that can be parked, temporarily in something that earns better funding. So,
It's all liquidity.
yeah. Good. Any other questions? Do we have any questions online?
Nobody else.
Nobody online? Okay. All right, then I'll say meeting and Q&A adjourned. Thanks all for coming.
Thank you.
And we'll see you in May as our next scheduled board meeting. Hopefully we will see you in April at the annual meeting at the plantation.
And the speaker series.
Yeah, the speakers.